So for part one, the routine shift. This is going to be a long story, and I honestly don't know if I'm writing this for advice, therapy, or just to vent. Maybe all of the above. I, 34 million, have been married to my wife Emily, 32 feet, for almost 6 years. No kids. We decided early on to focus on our careers in travel. I work in IT remotely, and Emily works in marketing for a cosmetics brand in the city. About 8 months ago, Emily started taking Ubers to work instead of using her car or the train. At first, I didn't think anything of it. She said it helped her avoid stress and gave her time to catch up on emails. Reasonable enough. We live in a major city, traffic's a nightmare, and her job can be demanding. But then, the name Tariq started showing up a lot. Like, a lot. Yeah, Tariq was early again today. Lifesaver. Tariq had the best playlist this morning. Ugh, I wish more drivers were like Tariq. It didn't register right away. I mean, I trusted Emily. We'd been through rough patches before, but we always came out stronger. Still, something about the way she'd say his name just nagged at me. The kind of tone that was a little too casual. You know when people act like something isn't important, but they mention it every single day? Anyway, this went on for a while. It became a routine. Emily would leave at 8:15, sometimes even earlier if Tariq was already nearby. She started wearing more perfume, doing her makeup differently, more intense, more like when we first met. I teased her about it once. Trying to impress the Uber driver, I said jokingly. She just smiled and said, "Maybe I just like feeling good for myself, not for you, Mark." That stung, but she laughed it off and kissed me, so I let it go. Big mistake. Part two. The lies start to stack. A few weeks after I wrote that last post, things started to shift even more. Subtly, but enough for someone paying attention. Emily started coming home later. Not by hours, just weird gaps. Like she'd get drinks with coworkers, but somehow have no stories about it. Her phone was suddenly glued to her. She used to leave it around all the time. Now it was either in her hand or face down on the counter, and she became nasty. I'd ask basic questions like, "Did you end up going to that meeting today?" And she'd snap, "Why are you always checking up on me like I'm some teenager?" I wasn't. I barely even asked stuff like that. But every time I did, she acted like I was interrogating her, accused me of being controlling, like I had no right to even be curious. One night I said, "You've been kind of tense lately. Is something going on?" And she rolled her eyes and said, "God, Mark, not everything is about you. Maybe I just don't like coming home to someone who stares at a screen all day like a zombie." Now here's the kicker. I work from that screen. It literally pays our bills. But I stayed calm, tried to give her space. Maybe it was burnout, I thought. Maybe it was hormones. I bent over backwards trying to rationalize it. Around that time, she started forgetting to mention where she was going. A few times she said she was working late, but I checked her location. Yeah, we had location sharing on. She just forgot. She was nowhere near her office, just parked in some neighborhood 20 minutes away. I asked her about it one night. Just said, "Hey, I noticed you weren't at the office the other night when you said you were. Everything okay?" She stared at me wide-eyed. Then, and I'll never forget this, she smiled and said, "Maybe you imagined that." I almost laughed. Gaslighting 101. I showed her the map and everything, and she said it must have been a glitch, that Apple's always messing up location services. Then she got angry at me for spying, so I backed off again, like an idiot. Part three, the first real clue. After the whole, "maybe you imagined that" incident, I felt like I was losing my grip. Like, was I being paranoid? Or was I slowly watching my marriage rot from the inside? I started doing something I hate admitting. I snooped, not hardcore hacker level, just started noticing patterns more closely, watched her habits. I wasn't trying to be controlling. I just needed to know if I was going crazy. And then came the first real clue. One Friday morning, Emily left in a rush, said she had a meeting and Tariq was already outside. But about 15 minutes after she left, I realized she'd forgotten her work badge, the one she always needed to get into her office. I figured I'd be a good husband and drive it over. I texted her, no reply. Called. straight to voicemail. So I drove to her office. She wasn't there. Her car wasn't there either. She hadn't driven in weeks. But still, I waited for a while, no sign of her. I asked the front desk if Emily had come in that day. They knew me, company parties and all. The woman at the front just said, "Oh, I think Emily has Fridays off now. Didn't she tell you?" Fridays off. She hadn't told me anything about that, and that would explain the late Friday returns, the extra client dinners. My stomach was in knots on the way home. When she came back that evening, all smiles and fake lipstick smudge charm, I didn't say a word. I just watched her, observed, and then she said, "Work was exhausting today." I nodded and said, "Yeah? Did they make you stay late on your day off?" She froze, just for a second, barely a flicker. But that split-second silence, that's when I knew. She recovered fast. "Oh my God, Mark, I wasn't off. Some of us were. Why are you acting like I'm lying? You're being so weird lately." Right, I'm the weird one. But I didn't push, because now I had a plan.